Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Saturday, the 5th of August. We continue to work our way through the book of Acts with McShane today reading chapter 23. Paul had gone back to Jerusalem. He was fingered by a number of believers who said that he'd broken all sorts of laws, which he hadn't. There's a massive uproar developing. The Roman commander goes and pulls Paul out of it, takes him to the garrison, and the next day he wants to hear what's going on, that these people can be this anti this individual who's done nothing wrong. He's not an insurrectionist or anything. So he calls the Sanhedrin together and has Paul stand before them. And as Paul starts to make his defense, we're told in verse 6 of chapter 23, then Paul, knowing that some of them were Sadducees and the others Pharisees, called out in the Sanhedrin, "My brothers, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. I stand on trial because of my hope in the resurrection of the dead." When he said this, a dispute broke out between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the assembly was divided. And they got more and more divided until eventually there was another uproar developing, and the commander pulled Paul out of there back into the garrison. Another read that, I thought, here's Paul dividing the Sanhedrin. He really was giving effect to what Jesus told the disciples when he sent them out. In Matthew chapter 10, we read, as he sends the 12 disciples out, he warns them. He says to them, "I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves." As shrewd as snakes and innocent as doves. And so here we see Paul doing that. He wasn't lying. He didn't spin a yarn. He essentially was on trial because of the resurrection of the dead and the fact that he said you can only experience the resurrection through Jesus. Jesus is the sacrifice for our sins that opens the resurrection to us. So the resurrection and Jesus' resurrection was central to what they were talking about. But he presented that knowing that it would split them. And he knew where the fault lines were, and he used that to his advantage. Had he tried to defend himself, he knew they wouldn't listen to him. Their minds were made up. A trial was a sham. He knew that. And so he needed to, in a sense, play for time and move the situation forward. And as Christians, we need to sometimes do that. Sometimes when people ask us questions, we can answer not dishonestly, but answer in a way that provokes a debate. Answer in a way that deflects the question. Answer in a way that reveals us as being as shrewd as snakes, as wise as serpents in the old translation. We're not called to be gullible. We're not called to be fools. And we're called to be wise as snakes, while at the same time maintaining our innocence, standing for the truth, walking with Jesus. So as we face a contentious world where we are surrounded by wolves, let us hear Jesus' words. Let us follow Paul's examples. And stand in the wisdom of the scriptures. Wise as serpents, innocent as doves. Be blessed. A quick word here. I'm going to be away for the next week, getting out of town, going off to the mountains and traveling around a bit. So there won't be any more midday mulls until Monday week. But there's plenty of back miles you can go over again, and many other resources that we have in the scriptures. And the most important thing is the scriptures themselves. So go and read the scriptures for yourself over the next while. And as you do that, you will be blessed.